And Madinah, you are someone who has been a female Qur'an reciter as well in Scotland. What's that been like for yourself?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name's Madinah Javed, and yeah, I'm from Scotland, and I launched the Female Reciters campaign on social media a few years ago to raise awareness of women who recite the Qur'an. And my activism really started within my grassroots community centre, Andalus, where I learned how to recite Qur'an and also teach Qur'an. And on my travels around the world, I've encountered many different Muslim communities and experienced different treatment as a young woman who recites.
So tell us a little bit about some of those treatments. What's been overall the sentiments that you face? Has it been surprise? Has it been acceptance? What has it been?
So one of the most notable recitations that I did was at St. Mary's Cathedral, and this was the audience was a local Christian community. And the response I received was so beautiful. The Christian congregation really were so moved and found it so beautiful, and they really thanked me and expressed how profoundly touched they were. However, this event was met with the expected Islamophobic backlash online, and it's important to note stigma that female recitation faces within the Muslim community too. And when I read what Muslims had commented online, there were comments about everything other than the recitation. So, for example, why is it a woman reciting? This is a mockery of my religion. Why is she wearing shoes? And if we go back to our history again, there was a famous companion of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and her name was Raqa. And at that time, she was one of the few people who knew the Qur'an by heart, and she would teach it to others. And her whole life revolved around the Qur'an. Her recitations were so beautiful and so frequent and loud that her voice could be heard echoing on the streets for men and women to appreciate and hear. And even in the Islamic tradition, we know that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he was walking in the streets of Medina, he heard a woman reciting the first verse of a chapter in the Qur'an, and he didn't stop her from reciting. So it really makes you wonder about the spiritual lobotomy that has taken place in the last centuries. And this notion that a woman's voice should be silenced because it's too beautiful and distracting to be heard by men is an inherently patriarchal and misogynistic interpretation.
Yes, and let's talk about that right now, which is what I'd love to do, really, with yourself, with Naseba, with Sophia as well. Let's talk a little bit about that. What's been the response that you've received? Do you think those attitudes are changing? Is it going to be more comfortable to see recitations from women in mosques, in public? Do you think that's where we are headed, or do you think that actually we're a long way away from that yet?
So as part of launching my Female Reciters campaign online, I was able to use the internet and technology to really raise awareness of Muslim women's voices. And I created a hashtag, Female Reciters. And I've really been doing this women's rights movement in a very gentle and graceful way to revive this beautiful Islamic tradition that is alive in parts of the world and to rehabilitate women's voices in our communities. And it's really lovely to be able to take advantage of technology to share videos and recordings of many Muslim women that I've met on my journeys travelling the world in Bosnia and Croatia, and even finding old recordings of women who were on Egyptian radio in the 1930s and 1940s. We have examples of Kulthum and a really famous woman who went on to become a singer. And a really important aspect of my movement is that it's not just about one person, it's about all women. It's about women coming together and supporting each other. Like, as Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. And I've been able to make a lot of these examples of women reciting more prominent and noticeable through the online space. And it's really lovely to be able to encourage other women to join in and contribute and also support one another. And I think it's really, as information spreads a lot faster online, it does raise a lot more public awareness faster, and that does encourage people to think and question and research what they know. However, in communities, and it will take a much longer time for this to change, because communities can be very traditional and very cultural. But I think the really online aspect of the female reciters movement is key to sparking change, because it will awaken hearts to another reality and give people a glimpse of a future that can be if we collectively work together for it. So even though there's
Madinah,
not much
Naseba, thank you both for your time. Sophia, so tell us, from the documentary, from what you have